Hello everyone. Today I will tell you a story. The story is titled, When I Sat Down, Boy Was Already There. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you appreciate me. You can skip this if you don and oppose. Like this video. Thank you very much. The story begins as follows. Some days don't arrive loudly. They don't knock. They don't crash into your life with drama or urgency. They simply sit there, heavy and quiet, waiting for you to notice how tired you are. That afternoon was one of those days. I came home without a story to tell. No complaints, no victories, no real sadness either. Just a tired body carrying a tired mind. The room was the same as always. The chair by the window waited where it always waited. The light fell on the floor in its usual shape, stretched and thin. I dropped my bag. I didn't sigh. I didn't think. I just sat down. And that's when I realized Boy was already there. Not jumping. Not barking. Not demanding attention. Just there. He was lying beside the chair, his body curved naturally toward where my legs would land, as if he had predicted the exact angle of my exhaustion. His tail tapped the floor once. Maybe twice. A quiet acknowledgement. Like saying, I see you. I'm here. I hadn't called him. I hadn't looked for him. Yet somehow he knew. Boy lifted his head slowly, eyes soft, unhurried. No questions in them. No expectations. Just warmth. His ears flicked at a distant sound outside, but his attention came right back to me. Always back to me. I rested my hand on his head without thinking. His fur was warm. Real. Present. And in that small moment, hand on fur, feet on the floor, breath slowing, I felt something loosen inside my chest. The world didn't fix itself. My problems didn't disappear. But the noise inside me turned down, just a little. Boy shifted closer, his side pressing against my calf. A quiet, steady pressure. Grounding. Like an anchor reminding me that I was here, now, and not lost somewhere inside my thoughts. Sometimes love doesn't arrive as a solution. Sometimes it arrives as a presence. And Boy, without knowing it, had mastered that art. Boy has always had a strange sense of timing. He doesn't understand calendars or schedules, but he understands moments. He knows the difference between when I sit down to rest and when I sit down because I can't carry myself anymore. On busy days, he follows me around the house like a soft shadow, never in the way, always just close enough. On lighter days, he sprawls out dramatically in the middle of the room, daring the universe to disturb his peace. But on days like that day, he becomes quiet. After I sat there for a while, staring at nothing in particular, Boy slowly stood up, stretched with a small grunt, and placed his head gently on my knee. Not his paws, not his whole body, just his head, heavy enough to be felt, light enough to be gentle. I looked down at him. You knew, I whispered. He didn't respond, of course. He never does. But his eyes half closed, trusting, calm. His breathing synced with mine before I even realized mine had been uneven. I scratched behind his ear, the spot he loves most, and his tail thumped softly against the floor. A simple rhythm. Steady. Alive. Minutes passed. Maybe more. Time didn't feel important anymore. Outside, the world kept moving. Cars passed. Voices echoed faintly. Somewhere, someone was rushing. Somewhere else, someone was worrying. But in that room, there was only a human sitting down and a dog who had already decided that this was where he belonged. I realized then that Boy never tries to fix me. He never asks what's wrong. He never offers advice or solutions. He doesn't need explanations. He just stays. And staying, I learned, is sometimes the most generous thing a living being can do. Animals don't love us for our productivity. They don't measure our worth by how strong we are. They love us for being present, for being us. As the light shifted across the floor, Boy adjusted slightly, making sure he was still touching me. Still connected. Still there. When I finally stood up, he stood up too. Not because he needed to go somewhere, but because I was moving. When I walked to the kitchen, he followed. When I paused, he paused. When I laughed softly at something small and unimportant, his ears perked up, ready to celebrate whatever joy had appeared. He didn't ask to be thanked. He didn't ask to be noticed. He had already chosen his role. That evening, as I sat on the floor instead of the chair, Boy curled up beside me again. This time, closer. His head on my thigh. His back against my stomach. A warm, breathing reminder that life doesn't always need to be loud to be meaningful. I thought about how often humans rush past moments like these. We're trained to keep moving, to stand up quickly, to fill silence. to look for answers instead of comfort. But animals, especially dogs like Boy, live in a different rhythm. They understand something simple and profound. Being there is enough. When I sat down earlier that day, Boy didn't see weakness. He saw an invitation, an opportunity to connect, to offer quiet loyalty without conditions. And maybe that's what makes the bond between humans and animals so special. They don't ask us to be better versions of ourselves. They accept the version that shows up tired, messy, unsure. Boy doesn't know my plans for the future. He doesn't know my fears or goals. But he knows when I sit down, and he knows where he belongs. That night, as I turned off the lights, Boy followed me to bed and curled up nearby, sighing deeply, the kind of sigh that says everything is okay for now. And I realized something important. We don't always need someone to lift us up. Sometimes, we just need someone to sit with us. The story of Boy is not just about a dog waiting beside a chair. It is a reminder of how powerful quiet companionship can be in our modern lives. In a world where humans are constantly encouraged to rush, compete, and prove their value, animals show us a softer way to exist. They teach us that care does not always require words, and love does not always need action. Sometimes, presence is enough. From Boy, we can learn to slow down and truly notice those around us, human or animal. When someone in our life sits down, tired or overwhelmed, we do not always need to offer solutions. We can simply stay. We can listen without fixing. We can create safe spaces where vulnerability is allowed. For a healthier relationship between humans and animals, we should respect their emotional intelligence, not underestimate their sensitivity, and treat them as companions rather than possessions. Spending quiet time together, observing their needs, and responding with patience strengthens mutual trust. In daily life, try to pause more often. Sit down, breathe, and if an animal chooses to be beside you, accept it fully. In that shared stillness, both lives become lighter, kinder, and more deeply connected.